Welcome to Artistic Adventures. We continue our Bellatrix project today, and we're going to be focusing on the face up. And I wanted to give you a little preview of what our Bellatrix doll should look like. And now let's get started on the face up. We're going to take all this makeup off of the Draculaura doll with some acetone using some Q-tips. You can do this with anything you want. I'm using Q-tips just because I'm trying not to get it on my fingers, which have nail polish on them, and that would remove the nail polish. So when you're doing this, you want to make sure you not only get the paint, but also the accumulated dirt or stains that came from wear. This is a used doll that I bought off of eBay. Now this is a picture that I downloaded, and you'll notice she has some very distinct cheeks, very large cheekbones, and then some shading that comes all the way down to the sides of her lips. She has some shading around her eyes, and the arch of the eyebrow is pretty distinct. And then the nose is pretty straight, and we'll try to do some shading to achieve that. All right, so let's get started. I've already prepped this face with some matte medium that I used with my airbrush. And today I'm using the Faber-Castell pencils and just wanted to try those out on a doll. I haven't used those in a while, so I'm going to use those on this particular doll and see how I like them. I've been using Derwent watercolor pencils mostly in the past, and they're kind of soft, so I think the Faber-Castell ones are a little bit harder and maybe won't break so much. Anyway, we'll give them a try, see how we like them. I put about 3 coats of that matte medium on and let them dry, and that allows you to have some tooth to the surface that will allow the pencils to pick up the color. So I'm just sort of sketching out the face now with a light brown pencil. It's easier to get rid of if you don't like what you do. And I had a couple false starts with the eyes. Her eyes seem to be sort of flat across the top, and I think that just is sort of the personality of her. With there's some hidden things in Bellatrix that nobody knows about, and I think the flat top of the eye sort of adds to that mystery. So now I'm going to take this little small brush. It's a fingernail paint brush, and put some color to the eyebrows with pastels to map them out a little bit more. And then I'm going to add some white to the sclera of the eyes. And I'm going to add a little bit of yellow to the bottom of the iris. Her eyes are going to be a dark brown, so the bottom part I'm making a light yellow just to give it a little bit of dimension. And then the top part will be the brown. And of course, putting in some pupils in black. And just keeping on with the process of layering in the colors, making the lines around the eyes a little bit darker. I'm putting a line across where the upper eye used to be, and that'll be the crease of her eye instead of the normal crease. I'm layering in some darker colors on the eyebrows with little soft strokes that will look like hairs. And I'm using browns, darker brown, and I'll be using black on that. And then for the lips, I wanted to make those a little bit darker than maybe usual. The picture that I showed, she seems to have some lipstick that maybe was a little bit worn, but in other pictures I've seen her have a darker color lip. So kind of improvising and putting in some of the different elements of different shots I've seen with her. She has some pretty distinct shading on her face, so we'll be working with that to try to create the image of Bellatrix. I'm putting some shade on the top of her eyes with some brown pastels, and she sort of has a sunken in eye look, which I think sort of goes along with the evilness of Bellatrix. It's just sort of like a skeleton type face with her sunken in cheeks. And fortunately, this doll has a face shape similar to Bellatrix with sort of a pointed chin but wide cheekbones. So that plays well with what we're trying to achieve if we can get the contouring of her face correct. All right. Putting some darkness into the lips there. Um, Everything about her is sort of dark. You know, she's got the dark costume and dark shading of her face. So we're using a little bit of black on this doll. And I'm just continuing to layer in some colors. I'm going to do 2 more sprays of the matte medium throughout this video to enable me to create deeper colors and also to save the work that I had done up to that point. And a little hint with these Faber-Castell pencils, sometimes you have to put a little bit of water on them and then wipe the water off on a paper towel so you're not getting, too much color, but it helps you to lay down a little bit darker color if you moisten the point of the tip just a little bit. And then you just wipe it on a paper towel and continue working. It also helps to keep your point sharp without using a pencil sharpener, and just rub it on a paper towel sideways and use that to help sharpen the point. So I'm using some pastels now on her lips, trying to darken those up a little bit. So I want them to be darker than a typical lip would be. And I'm shading around her nose, trying to make that look a little bit more pointed and not so perky. And if you make mistakes with this, you can always just, like, I take a Q-tip and either smudge it with that, or I can use some water to wash off what I've done and then reapply it. She doesn't have a lot of that blue color on the sides of her nose like most of us have. She's just more of a, there's more dark colors, more like sunken in eye cavity look. So I'm even adding some brown to the underside of her eyes to sort of create that sunken in socket look. And then for her cheeks, I'm not going to put blush. I'm actually just going to do some shading, some contouring using brown pastels and shading in that um, sunken in look around her lower cheeks that she has in that picture. And that's something a little different for the typical doll face that I do. Putting a little shading around the temples as well. And then once I get the darker shades in, I can go back in with some white and shade the tops of her cheeks, the tops of her nose, and get a little bit of contouring effect. Continuing to darken her brows here with some darker black and brown. And for her eyes, I have moistened the white tip of my pencil to get the scaleras a little bit whiter. I was not getting much color from that pencil without it. So hopefully that will help you if you are trying to do that and you're not getting a lot of color. Just try moistening the tip, but be sure to wipe it down on a paper towel first so you're not getting too intense color. And just continuing to darken the area around the eye and the crease with my watercolor pencils. At this point, she's coming together pretty well, I think. She's such an interesting character on Harry Potter. I mean, you just like love to hate her. She's compelling in some sort of weird way, and I love her crazy wild hair and all that, and I love that she's sort of this powerful witch. I mean, she's pretty evil, but there's something about her that I just kind of I don't know, kind of like her in a certain weird kind of way. Now I'm taking some pink and putting it in the corners of the eyes. And now that that's finished, I'm going to take some white acrylic paint with a rounded tip tool and put that sparkle in her eye. And there's our finished face up. And I think she turned out really nicely. And then I'll show you uh, what she looks like with the gloss on her eyes. I'm going to put this high gloss varnish on after I sprayed her with the matte varnish all over. This is the final look. And next up, we'll be doing her wig. And she's got some crazy hair, which is going to be lots of fun to work with. So stay tuned for that video, and then we'll do some finishing touches and finish up this project. Make sure you subscribe and don't miss a thing. Thanks. Bye.